Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. This is run number 2 of this season, coming to you today from Brands Hatch. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me, working the comms and the cams, is Adam Thompson. Our tour of UK tracks is very much on, as we trade out the overcast skies of Silverstone for the overcast skies of Brands Hatch. The season opener 1 week ago was a rather standard affair. Close racing, some occasional incidents here and there, and a really compelling strategy game as well. Heading into Brands Hatch, a track which has been a staple of the Formula Ford schedule, both officials and the Weekend Warriors world for quite some time. We made some of these drivers try and get into some sort of groove to bring this season to a beginning. The real question, though, is, Adam, will they actually be able to settle into that groove?
That's a great question. Again, I mean, if they're over in the UK for most of the time, there should be some type of groove forming, right? Because all the UK tracks are the same. I'm just kidding. Every single track we're going to this season is going to be different. And we are here at Brands Hatch, and we're watching Jason Green right now behind this info screen before we get to points and run. The gravel trap of Turn 2 is back.
The gravel trap of doom, I think, is probably the term that we should use to describe it, because whether it be with the 43rd, I believe it was, the 43rd Weekend Warriors runoffs a couple of weeks ago, whether it be with the Formula Vs last week to kick that season off, or whether it be here today, that gravel trap is just an absolute pain in the butt. But with that taken into consideration, I think we'll move on to some more lighthearted affair and touch on the championship points. Ian Joyner currently leading it at the moment with 111 points on the board. Joyner, who was very fast last season, kicked the season off in style with a win at Silverstone. He currently finds himself leading over Christian Kabanka in P2, Soren Gerritsen third, Kevin Adrian Thortula rounding out the top 5 in the Spec 1 category. Moving on now to Spec 2, and it's Fernando Afonso leading the Spec 2 points. That's a little bit surprising because I believe Jeff Jacobson was the one that took the Spec 2 checkered flag last week. But either way, currently, as it stands at the moment, Alfonso finding himself in the championship lead with 75 points on the board. Esteval Laurencio finds himself in P2, Paul Jackson, Jeff Jacobson, and Peter True running at your top 5 in the Spec 2 category. And now moving on to Masters, always a really compelling class to look at, and just about the closest we have thus far. York Monty, though, got off to a dream start by taking the checkered flag at Silverstone. I think he finished second in that race overall, which, again, points are awarded by overall position, not just class position, although you do want to win your class. But Monty getting off to a dream start and looking pretty good for him right now in this qualifying session for this race here at Brands Hatch, finding himself in third.
Yep, he's doing a great job so far, really way ahead of his Masters rival, who is always his rival and great friend on track, Antonio Reese. Both of them are doing a great job. Trying to get my mic level just a little bit higher here because I can never get my mic level right. Here we go. So, yes, they are both doing a great job right now. And, yeah, again, Ian Joyner, speaking of Ian Joyner, he's not in the lead right now, which is... Oh my goodness, as we just saw somebody go off back there. I believe that was Daniel Salmon that just found himself a very, very hard Armco barrier. But we're going to go on board here with Jason Green, then we can go back and get a look at that incident, Ron.
Jason Green currently on the provisional pole at the moment, setting a 1-man 32.456 last time by. Let's see if he will be able to improve on this time in the not too far off future. Joyner, though, in P2, he's certainly the championship favorite coming into the season, but Jason Green, a Weekend Warrior staple, got to try and give him one heck of a challenge, and this is one heck of a challenge too of a circuit. Brands Hatch heading your way off into turn number 1, got that pit entry on the inside line, certainly going to wreak havoc to some drivers, especially come time for those pit stops later on. But heading your way through turn number 1, don't want to avoid the gravel because you're going to be running through the gravel of turn 2. Look at that. Looks like a rally special stage. That's absolutely ridiculous. More gravel on the exit of turn number 2, the hairpin of Druids, now into turn 3. A really tricky left-hander downhill off camber as well, with some grass runoff on the outside as well. Small little flat out blast before you head your way off into turn number 4, a corner that, from my experience, Adam, is so tricky to try and sight out. You don't know where the apex is going to be. It feels completely blind, having to deal with some elevation change as well. And speaking of elevation change, careening your way down the hill, about to head your way off into turn number 5, a series of corners which is very, very fast, but all have their own unique twists and turns to them. No pun intended. Turn 5 a couple of moments ago. Now into turn number 6, another hard corner. The track falls away from you as you're still turning that wheel, trying to get set up into turn number 7, one of the best corners on this racetrack, just because it's named Dingledale. That's a funny corner name to say. Now into turn number 8. This is going to be a real tricky corner as well. And look at that gravel trap on the outside. Chances are that gravel in that gravel trap also going to end up on the racetrack come time for the end of this race. And here's the end of this lap. Turn number 9, another hard corner dealing with the elevation change as well. And that is a very hectic lap around Brands Hatch.
It is. And one thing I want to mention, I think we have seen Jason Green in the past, well, I don't know, forever seasons, with a paint job that, you know, I mean, hasn't been as beautiful as the one we see on his car right now, Ron. So if you find out who made that paint job, you know, you should really just shout him out and tell him how good of a job he did and how awesome of a person. Oh, they are, not him. I don't know why I said him. How awesome of a person they are.
I think I do know who made the paint scheme. If my memory serves me correctly, I won't say for sure, but I will say their name starts with A and ends with damn Thompson. So I will just leave it at that. And oh my God, look at the gravel there on the outside. Come time for the end of this race, that's going to look absolutely stupid. It looks like someone had a bunch of like butter cookies or something, you know, those ones in a tin, and just had them just on the track. It just looks like a bunch of crumbs scattered around the outside of turn 2.
Yeah, it really does. And I mean, I think that's where we're seeing a lot of people going off already. And now the question is, there are some options here. You can clear marbles off the track before the race. And I don't know if marbles have anything to do with gravel. I don't think anybody knows right now what this gravel is and why there's so much of it, at least at turn 2 at Brands Hatch. I mean, that's where we've seen it the most. Around other tracks, it hasn't been as bad. I mean, but you can see it. I mean, into the entry, they're taking a rain line through there right now because, I mean, I don't think anybody knows where to go to stay off that gravel.
Yeah, people got to try and find all sorts of lines to just try and keep their tires clean. I can't really say that I'm an expert in this regard, though, Adam. The one thing that I know for sure about marbles is I lost mine a long time ago. But heading through turn
Ron.
2...
We know.
Yeah, thank you very much. Heading through turn number 2, though, that's a corner that, honestly, for these drivers, is probably going to be one of the most challenging all season long, just because you've got all that gravel. I think I shared this story a couple of weeks ago in my karting days, having a stone fly up and whack me on one of my knuckles. I think it was either on my ring finger or middle finger, but either way, it definitely hurt. So thankfully these drivers won't have to deal with that. However, they will have to deal with the loss of grip. Turn 2 on lap 1. May God have mercy on these drivers' souls. I don't know about you, Adam, but I am incredibly happy that I'm in behind the microphone instead of behind the wheel of one of these race cars.
Yeah, absolutely. I am incredibly happy as well, Ron, and I'm going to let you take over for 1 second. We've had a new driver come in, so I got to put him into the overrides. So give me 1 second here.
All good, Adam, and I'll talk about the compelling battle that we have for the pole position. Not terribly long ago, Jason Green was on that provisional pole. He now finds himself in 5th, not terribly far off from that pole position, but still finds himself in 5th at the moment. Jorg Mani has jumped in. Tulo jumped him right as we were riding on board with him with that track guide that I gave. Didn't really mention it at the time, but Tulo, the reigning Formula V Weekend Warriors champion and a UK racer in his own regard, currently finds himself in 3rd. Christian Kabanka and Ian Joyner rounding out your front row as it stands at the moment. Look at the gap between those two, 0.034 of a second between Joyner in the 8 and Kabanka in the 9. They're close both in terms of the numbers they have on their race car and the times they've set in the qualifying session thus far.
Yeah, and one thing that, Ron, I know you've done, I don't know how you did it back in your karting days when you did, were they just track days or if there was any racing? Was it open qualifying, and did you have to deal with some of these drivers that aren't as fast as you? And that's no problem. I mean, not everybody's as fast as everybody else, but when you've got someone like Christian Kabanka only 3/100ths of a second off, like when he was just trying to pass right there, you wonder if that really has got to get annoying, right?
I'll tell you, Adam, from my experience in my karting days, most of the experience that I had was running an autocross with the SCCA, running in the junior karts, and the shifter kart that I ran towards the end, the gravel, and more contact being made as the car spins around of Kabanka. Christian Kabanka, a very fast racer in the Weekend Warriors realm, so let's see if he'll be able to try and mount a challenge to that man Ian Joyner, who we were following a couple of moments ago. But from my experience in autocross, it was so tricky trying to find those extra few tenths, hundredths, or even thousandths of a second. One of the last seasons in which I was driving back in 2021, I had a championship decided by, I think it was about 0.2 of a second at the end of the season. So those small little margins, especially around a racetrack like this, in cars like this, it could be a matter of a couple of inches closer to that inside line hang through turn number 9. You may miss an apex just a teeny tiny bit, and that could make all the difference. 34 thousandths of a second around a racetrack like this, where these drivers are setting 1.5 minute-long qualifying sessions at a track that's 2.3 miles long. That could be genuinely a matter of inches. So those sorts of gaps, I always found to be the most infuriating. I think one of the smallest gaps that I ever had in my time racing, it was a couple of hundredths of a second. I think my dad will have to fact check me on this. Happened a couple of times back in 2017. And 12-year-old me was not very amused by the fact that I lost out on some of those events by a couple of hundredths or a couple thousandths of a second. It's those small gaps that always just eat away at the back of your mind. And considering the fact that we've got the graphics up and all of those gaps are in the orange.
They are.
It's absolutely insane. Look at the Stevie Ray and Jeff Jacobson, though. Oh, my God. Stevie Ray and Jeff Jacobson, I was going to mention they were close.
Oh, yeah. Unbelievable. So that means Stevie has set that lap first. That is why he is ahead of Jeff Jacobson right now. But, I mean, again, looking through these gaps, Ron, I don't see very many of them over 0.2 of a second to the car behind. Now, if we go to the gap to the leader, that's going to change just a little bit. But still, look at that, all the way up into 16th place. They're within a second of the leader.
That is absolute pandemonium. York Monty jumping his way up into third, right as I was going to mention the fact that Monty was the Masters pole sitter, as Jacobson is the sitter of the pole at the moment in Spec 2. That is a very odd choice of vernacular there. I apologize for that, but that is just it is vacuum sealed together. You've got Chris Murakami in 13th, setting up. I will hold off on that point. Right as I was going to say what time he did, he improves to 1 minute 32.9. But I'll say Adam Bradshaw 133.0, Stevie Ray 133.0, Jeff Jacobson 133.0, Andrew Love 133.1, Lorero. Him and Lorero are tied at the moment for 17th and 18th.
Yeah. I don't know. This is some great racing we're seeing so far, and we haven't even gotten into the race yet. We have 5 minutes left. By the way, real quick shout out to the one, the only, the amazing Tam Stubbe in chat again, Ron, telling us about the marbles in turn 2. So basically, they need to go scoop them up and return them all back to you.
I will mention a small little story from my home life for a couple of moments, and knowing the way that my stories usually go, I will ask the audience and you as well, Adam, to bear with me for a couple of moments because this may get a little bit of a sidetrack going on.
Oh, okay.
But I occasionally mention my best friend Kate, who I live with. I've occasionally mentioned her as being the fact-checking committee for me. Whenever I say something incredibly stupid on the air, she will hit the books and try to see whether or not I am full of donkey excrement or what. One thing that she does occasionally do is whenever I say something incredibly dumb, her and my dad will both pile on to me that occasionally there will be a little bit of ticking going on whenever I'm walking across a hardwood floor from all the marbles and stones falling out of my ears. So you can feel the love, ladies and gentlemen. You can absolutely feel the love. Coming to the end of this qualifying. Oh, boy.
Kate, if you're watching this broadcast, if you're not, please hop in here and just give Ron all of that love that we're hearing so far. And also, Papa Maunz, if you're watching this, please just hop in. Papa Maunz last week was on fire, Ron, with some of the puns he was given. He was given dad jokes like they're supposed to be dad jokes, and I can now understand why you guys are father and son.
I have created a monster. He's created a monster, too. Oh, boy, who was that going off at like 1 billion miles an hour, heading off into turn number 3? Turn number 4. Sorry, God, I can't even get the numbers on the corners correct there. Have had a couple of off-track excursions, which is part of the reason why turn number 2 is just absolutely caked in gravel. It kind of looks like I'm trying to think of the best way I can describe it. It looks like a bunch of sprinkles on top of a cake. I think I may need something to eat because I am very much hungry. As we're going to take a look now to see what exactly happened here. This is a driver of the number 31 car of Salmon, looping it around, heading off into turn number 4. Looks like he is towed back to pit lane. Another driver getting bit off by the challenge at turn 4.
Yeah, this is Fernando Afonso here. And this is a more difficult. He keeps it on track at least, but Ron, that's not as easy of a corner as it looks. You can track it out pretty wide there. There's that false grass. Basically, it's fake grass that has stuff on top of it that allows for grip, but still, it's you can run it out there and track it out there. But the problem is, well, when people do track it out there, they track it out too far. So there are going to be issues as we're coming here to Montgomery, going through turn 2. I mean, the gravel getting thrown up by those tires as well. I mean, those are pretty skinny tires too, Ron, and the amount of gravel that's getting thrown up by those tires is intense to say the least. Now imagine a field of 33 cars driving through there at the same time.
May God have mercy on your graphics card, Adam. That is going to be it's going to be so bad. In fact, I'm pretty sure my own PC is going to be sounding like a plane getting ready to take off. So that's going to be a riot heading off into turn number 2. I think
fans are already set up to high, Ron. We're ready for it. I know what's coming, so I've already got it. This thing is kicking out all the heat it can already, so we'll see if it can deal with it.
Oh, McConnell jumping his way up into 5th in the number 62 car. I love how I just completely move on after whatever that was. But I gotta say one thing we haven't mentioned. York Monty. Oh man, that's a spin hang off yet again through turn number 2. But York Monty jumping his way up into the pole position, saying a 1 minute 31.959. So well done to Monty, a Masters racer. challenging those Spec 1 drivers. Monty, incredibly, insanely quick in the Weekend Warriors world, seeming to prove that yet again here at Brands Hatch. He nearly won the Formula Vs yesterday.
Yes.
He may very well end up winning this race with the Formula Fords today.
Quick story about Jorg Monty. I was racing him yesterday, and Ron, I had the most fun I think I've had in a league race in quite a long time. He is a driver. For the first time, I was able to go wheel to wheel with him yesterday. One of those drivers that are extremely aggressive, but extremely fun to race as well. There is a point of aggression where it's too much, but Jorg and I both flirted that point of aggression all race and had an absolute blast. He is so much fun to race around, very smart, will go wheel to wheel with you, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Joyner sitting right next to him on the front row.
That is a meeting of giants in this series. Monty, I wouldn't say a shoe-in, but he's certainly one of the favorites for the Masters Championship here from Season 1 of 2025. And Joyner, he's certainly going to be a driver who we need to keep our eyes out for in the Spec 1 Class Championship.
I believe we have a YouTube chat, and I believe it is from Papa Maunz. July 16th, 2017. Vicky got you by .033. So just to bring up old memories that I'm sure you're super proud of, that's what happened.
Oh, I absolutely am. That is one of the finest moments of my life, and even more fine than that was the fact that my dad broke it down and realized that if I was a half a second, it was running at this lot, Warminster Community Park, right outside of Philadelphia, the remains of what used to be the old Johnsville Naval Air Development Station. If anyone in the Philadelphia area ever heard of that, but small little bit of an airport runway that's been chopped up for God knows how long. That is. Feel like you're driving over a sinking swamp. But there used to be a section called the turnaround, this very big hairpin, and in those junior carts that we used to race in at the time, you could just haul the mail heading through there pretty much. I wouldn't say go flat out, but just basically dab the brakes a little bit, slow down to probably, I don't know, about 45, 50, which considering I was 12 years old at the time, that's still pretty fast. Just heading through there. And my dad worked out and has told me this on several occasions since, that if I was about an inch and a half closer in through that corner, that probably would have been enough to get that get that event. I mean, I can't be too upset. I ended up winning the championship that season as is, but
don't you love
that small little stuff still eats away at you.
Don't you love fathers saying, "Good job, son, good job," but you could have done better.
Yeah, I mean that's basically how the debriefs go whenever I'm off the air. So, some things change, others stay the same. I'm not driving anymore, but I still get the old debrief from Mr. Maunz. So, gotta love it. Qualifying session now coming to a close. I can see the gravel on the grass heading off into turn number 2. Holy cow. Jorg Monty, though, going to be starting this race from the pole position. Ian Joyner going to join him on the front row. Those two kick their respective seasons off with victories. Let's see if they can continue that streak going. But Christian Kabanka going to be starting right behind in third. Joining him on that second row is going to be Thor Tulo. We have Michael McConnell in fifth. Jason Green in sixth. Edward Buchanan third tries the charm.
Yep.
He's going to be starting this race right behind the third row in seventh. Antonio Reese going to join him on the fourth row. Soren Garrett's going to be starting in ninth. Stevie Ray, series admin, in 10th. Kevin Adrian in the number 10 car going to be starting, not fittingly, in 11th. Esteban Laurencio in the number 95 going to be joining him on that 6th row. Trent Kramer in 13th. Chris Murakami in 14th. Jeff Jacobson in 15th. Always remember to breathe, people. Adam Bradshaw in 16th. Andrew Love in 17th. Arthur Lorero going to be starting in 18th. Chris Montgomery in 19th. And Joshua Wilkie, SMB's very own, starting in 20th.
In 21st, we're going to have, where are we? Jeff Wubker in 21st with Jim Brewster in 22nd. Fernando Afonso in 23rd with Boris Essman in 24th. To round out your 31-car grid today, we have Michael Lefebvre in 25th with Daniel Salmon in 26th. Michelle Lynn starting in 27th. Daniel Verone in 28th. Peter True in 29th. Russell Tilker in 30th. Maurizio Nazelli, he does this quite a bit, Ron, starting in 31st.
I think we need to give a name to Maurizio Nazelli because just week in and week out, he always likes to cut his way through the field like a hot knife through butter. I'm not sure how that nickname would work. Call him like the Machete or something like that.
Yeah, that's good. And while we've got a little bit of time,
Maurizio.
Machete Maurizio, I like it. And while we got a little bit of time here, it looks like it's going to be a full pace lap. The one thing I do have to mention about drivers that do this, I know it's a lot of fun, but there is a bit of contention when stuff like this happens, Ron, because you've got a very fast driver cutting through the field, and when you've got a driver that's not driving like that, Michelle Lynn has finally got going. Anyways, there is a bit of contention there, to say the least, because you can get involved in battles that you are too fast to be involved in.
Sorry, I just got completely sidetracked looking at the gravel heading through there. That is a very good point to raise, though, when you have something like that go on. I've heard this discussion in real life when it comes to, like, field inverts, whether that be in some, like a bow-flung late model race up in the down in the Carolinas, I should say. Whether it be something like that, whether it be in the case of, like, I don't know, Formula 2 or something like that, whenever there's an invert for the sprint versus a feature race, something like that, you'll occasionally have a very quick driver get involved in an incident that, if they start up towards the front, they really wouldn't be involved in. I will pull some experience from my own stuff outside of broadcasting. I used to be in race control for a series that's broadcasted with another broadcaster on Monday nights. It is one of the premier road racing series on the iRacing platform, League series that is, and I had to be in race control, sorting out a field of LMP2s and GT4 race cars with a field invert. And they wouldn't do like a top 10 invert because iRacing doesn't really like doing class inverts, so we had to do it manually. So I can assure you that having something like that is always a pain in the butt, but something that you'd see from time to time in that series would be a driver who did fantastic in the first race, then come time for that second one, ends up getting struck by a falling piece of metal from the heavens that I will not specify.
Yes, absolutely, considering that the driver that normally gets struck by those falling pieces of metal is in the race today. So, yes, great job not specifying that. But, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. It's good for the broadcaster. We can talk about how many positions they've made up. But, yes, a bit of point of contention. But it doesn't matter now, Ron. We're going green.
That we absolutely are, ready to get things up and rolling from the second race of this Formula Ford Weekend Warriors season. The green flag's down. The drivers are already on their way off it to turn number one. Monty gang off to a flyer. Ian Joyner slotted in second. Christian Gabanka and Thortula may start to battle in the not-too-distant future as Green slipping his way up into fifth. Fernando Alfonso may add an off-track excursion. He's dropping down the running order. Currently finds himself in 30th. A disastrous start for the driver of the 222 car. Look at the smoke and dust and gravel getting kicked up in the air. So much dust and so much contaminants as upside down on the outskirts of turn number one. Who was that who barrel rolled and had themselves lawn darted into the gravel trap on the outside of turn one?
That is a great question, Ron. We do have a few replays to get to. We'll get to them right now, and then we'll get back to the action as well. Was it Thortula?
I think it may have been Montgomery. Thortula still running out there on the racetrack. Finds himself in fourth. Chris Murakami dropping down the running order. Think he may have just had a moment. And I just noticed in the corner of my... Oh, my God, that's a big crash.
Yes.
Heading down that straightaway between turns 4 and 5. Was trying to look to see where Maurizio Nazelli has found himself in. He's already up in 15, 16 positions gained. Are you kidding me? Look at that Nazelli, the German in the 47 car. Insanity.
Great. I mean, and there was a lot of attrition here that we got to go back and look at. So we do have quite a few incidents to look at here. Let's look at Chris Murakami first, see exactly what happened to him.
Here we go. Murakami in the 901 car kicked this season off with a pretty okay result, but it's not going to continue here. Wilkie getting a piece of that action as well. That's a big crash. Who flipped it? That's another car upside down. I think that may be Daniel Verone going for a flip, going under the bridge. Adam Bradshaw getting a piece of that action as well in the 929.
Yep, so there goes Adam Bradshaw, Wilkie. Now we're going to look to see exactly if we can find Daniel Verone. I don't think it was Daniel Verone. I don't know who that was. There was a lot going on right there, Ron.
Yeah, that was an absolute fustercluck coming down under the bridge at the very beginning of this race. Wilkie, Loureiro, Bradshaw, Montgomery. Montgomery, I believe, was a driver who got lawn darted into the gravel trap on the outside of turn number 1. Not sure if we could load up a replay of that. There's Daniel Verone, so he's still out there on the racetrack in the 272 car. There's another car that ended up upside down. May have been Jeff Lubker, possibly. Not entirely sure. We'll have to try and figure out who that was the not too far off future, but some drivers already getting taken out of this race. Montgomery, I believe, has left the session. It was a pretty disastrous start for him, and here's the incident heading through turn 1, and you can see multiple cars getting airborne, and Montgomery flipping in the process. Andrew Love also going off the circuit as well, heading off into turn number 2, and that, I think, was Jim Brewster, who I just saw in the corner of my eye, tumbling in the gravel trap.
Yep, and here we go. We are now watching Jim Brewster. See exactly what happened here. It gets, there it was.
Dear sweet baby merciful Jesus, some of these iRacing Formula Ford fabricators are going to be crying themselves to sleep at the end of today, because that was, how many flips in the span of one lap? 4?
Yeah, too many. And Tam said something happened to Jim, ? Yes, Tam, we just saw it, and you are about to see it very soon. That's what happened to Jim. But back up here at the front is Jorg Monty, and he is leading Ian Joyner pretty well, actually, for now. Jorg up about 0.4 of a second to Ian. Christian Kabeka sitting back there in third. Antonio Reese back in 5th with, obviously, second in the Masters. But looking down here, Jeff Jacobson is sitting in first place in Spec 2, but Michelle Lynn is not that far behind him.
Yeah, it's only about 2.5 seconds separating those two racers, running 15th and 16th as it stands at the moment. Michelle Lynn, a staple of the Formula V Weekend Warriors season, Weekend Warriors series, I should say. See her season after season, but haven't really seen too much of her outside of that up until the past season and a half, shall we say. Now running in the Formula Fords, and finds herself in a really good position if she plays her cards right and tries to stay close up to the back of Jeff Jacobson in that 240 car. She may find herself in a really good spot come time for the end of this race, already making her way up 11 spots, which is not the hard charger. Peter True up 12 isn't even the hard charger. Nazelli, who's running in front of Jeff Jacobson right now, 17 positions gained. Of course, that attrition towards the beginning certainly going to help him out, but considering you've got 5 cars right in front of him, separated by virtually nothing, heading their way off into turn number 1 right now, Nazelli may be able to pick off a few more spots.
I think so. Kevin Adrian leading that pack of just a very, very angry Formula Vs. Gustavo Lorenzo, Trenton Kramer, Soren Garrett, all of these drivers all side by side.
Here we go, Nazelli looking to try and pick off a move on, actually I believe that may be, I'm trying to think of who that is, right behind Nazelli. That I believe is a lapped car. That in between currently Nazelli and Jacobson, that I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, is the 222 car, Fernando Afonso. So he was another driver involved in those beginning of race collisions. Finds himself in 27th at the moment, already a lap down. Going to be a really tough race for the American behind the wheel of the number 22 car. But looking through this field, outside of Wilkie and Montgomery, who are out of this race, Wilkie's still down in the pits, probably a significant amount of damage or repair on that number 23 car. And Montgomery finding himself in 31st. He's already out of the session, so that's going to be the first retirement from this race. But still, 29 cars left out there on the racetrack, multiple of them being laps down, mind you, but still a rather okay start. Outside of that quite hectic lap 1, it's been a race, not of attrition thus far, but of a race where these drivers are certainly feeling racy, as we see at the front with Kabanka and Joyner side by side.
Kabanka, Joyner, Monty all side by side. Joyner's looking for 2 positions here. He might be able to get 1 on Kabanka. No, Kabanka gets Joyner, and they're falling back. Again, first, second, and third, they had to get around that lap traffic. And Jim Brewster as well as he's around.
Yeah, Jim Brewster losing it in the gravel, and oh, he gets hit again by Jason Green, who spins out of a solid top 10 position. That's a dangerous spot for Jim Brewster to find himself in at the moment. Looking through, no one clips him yet. Clips the barrier, though, trying to get it spun around in the right direction in the 933 car. But that is a very treacherous spot to find yourself in on the inside of turn 2. But thankfully, for Brewster, and the entirety of this field, they get away with it fairly scot-free as we go back to the action at the front of the field with Monty leading, Joyner leading Kabanka.
Yep, Monty is now starting to come under pressure from Joyner. Joyner and Kabanka both back there. Joyner now sitting in second place. Kabanka wants that position, though, from Joyner, but they both want that position from Monty. See what happens here going down the front straight, or the Brabham straight, excuse me.
There's a lot of sections on this racetrack where it feels like the racetrack is sort of repeating itself. You could call Brands Hatch iRacing's version of Groundhog Day. Some of these races are certainly going to be feeling like the rest of this race is Groundhog Day after they got off to a very poor start. But these drivers at the north end of the field certainly have it. Monty, Joyner, and Kabanka, they're just about some of the only drivers in the entirety of this field who have not gained or lost out on some spots. The only other drivers being Laurencio and Jacobson. That's just about it, though. But as I say that, up towards the north end of the field, Joyner and Monty swap positions as we're seeing a fight right in front of Stevie Ray involving Trent Kramer and Kevin Adrian side by side, hang their way off into turn number 1. Who's going to win out in this fight? Adrian on that inside, Kramer on the outside, heading their way into turn number 2, dealing with the gravel. That's basically an iRacing slip and slide more than anything else. And it looks like Kramer going to slide off the track on corner exit, hitting the grass on the exit of turn 2. Thankfully for him, though, he doesn't lose out on a whole lot of time, doesn't lose out on a spot, but brings some more dirt and debris onto this racetrack.
Yep, that's exactly what all of those drivers wanted, is more dirt and debris. But back up here, Ian Joyner has gotten around Jorg Monty, and he's starting to check out already. We will go back to see exactly how Ian Joyner was able to get past Jorg Monty, right? Well, when I find it. How's that sound?
We will be able to find that between then and now. Now being right about now. What in the world was that comment? Ian Joyner, following him, I should say, getting a move done on Jorg Monty off into turn number 1. Pretty slick move. That's pretty textbook stuff there, Adam.
It absolutely is, and Joyner already breaking away now 0.5 of a second ahead of Jorg Monty. Jorg Monty now coming under fire from Christian Kabanka, and there are so many battles going on through the field right now. Soren Garrett and Stevie Ray.
And here we go, side by side, hang their way off into turn number 9. Garrett's trying to break his way into the top 10, gets it done successfully. Stevie Ray, though, getting caught out a little bit by that as Maurizio Nazelli may try and get a move put on the series admin. The 47 and the 911 car maybe going to be side by side in the not too far off future. Looks like they're single file for now, heading their way through turn 1, but now into Druids of 2. Nazelli not going to risk it. Oh, no.
Joshua Wilkie in the YouTube chat saying, well, vid is going to be short this week. Yes, Wilkie, we saw all of that. It will be very short. I hope you fired OBS up in time, honestly, Josh.
Josh may he may be able to join us on this broadcast before the race even hits the halfway mark. So who knows? I mean, Josh, we've been able to commentate on the Formula V Weekend Warriors together, so who knows? Maybe we can do some Formula Ford commentary together as well. But either way, he's out of this race, and joining him out of this race, I think maybe Jim Brewster. He's towed back to pit lane, so not sure what happened to the driver of the 933 car. Had that flip in the early stages, landed on his wheels, went a lap down, but he now finds himself out of the race. I think he may be completely leaving the session entirely, and I can't necessarily blame him if he did. Following Trent Kramer, though, still involved in that battle with Kevin Adrian, and if they go side by side again for a next little bit, they may bring in Soren Garrett, because he's not terribly far off, only about 9/10 between Garrett and Kramer.
Yeah, and Nazelli's right back there, too. Nazelli is still not in a position where he deserves to be on track starting from the back, so he is going to be involved in this battle, give it in the not-too-distant future. I'll give it 3 or 4 laps, and I think he's going to be there, Ron.
Not too distant future. Anyways, that was a very odd noise. It sounded like a croak from me. That's fun fact time, breaking the fourth wall for a moment. That's usually how I sound whenever I'm not on the air. But following Nazelli, 20 positions gained thus far in this race. Pure unbridled madness. You have to go back to Peter True running in 17th to find the person who's gained the next amount of positions, 12. So, I mean, if Peter True is able to break his way up into 9th and Maurizio Nazelli gets struck by a falling asteroid, see what I did there?
Yes.
He would be the one inheriting that Hard Charger award. You know, I always keep notes as to who was the previous winners from all of the races. I need to keep track of the hard chargers as well, and I feel like if we gave out like a hard charger championship and Nizelli did this more often, he would definitely, without a question of a shadow of doubt, probably take that one home.
Well, 100% this is his bread and butter to start from the back. But, I mean, again, here we go. Soren Garrett has caught up to the back of Kevin Adrian, and we've got Trenton Kramer still battling with Kevin Adrian. Trenton has gotten around Kevin, actually. So now Trenton's in the lead of this battle, but now Kevin all of a sudden going to be coming under fire from Soren Garrett and Maurizio Nizelli. And you don't have to look too far back to see another battle that might be forming here. Jeff Jacobson is stuck right now behind Fernando Afonso. The question is Fernando driving fast enough to keep Jeff Jacobson ahead of Michelle Lynn?
Yeah, that is the real question that these drivers have. I think that gap between Jacobson and Lynn, I wouldn't say it's rapidly increasing, but I don't think it's necessarily decreasing either. It's remaining about that 3.5-second threshold. So at this point in time, and looking okay for Jacobson. Certainly doesn't want to have any bad moments, but trying to get the move done on Fernando Afonso in that 222 car. Looks like he gets it done successfully, heading out of turn number 2 into turn 3 right now. Very close, though, to making contact are those two racers heading off into turn 3. Adam Bradshaw also involved in that. Afonso and Bradshaw, those two being a lap down, they are battling for position right now, battling for the not very prestigious spot of 26th place, but at any point can certainly make a difference for these drivers.
Well, you know Jeff Jacobson was getting angry behind Fernando Afonso, though, but I feel for Fernando sitting in that position. He is trying to battle with Adam Bradshaw. He wanted that car in between himself and Adam Bradshaw, even though they are not battling for any types of podiums or anything like that. It is still points, but Jeff has now cleared himself of that battle, going to be able to move himself on up the road. And Jeff, second week in a row here, doing a great job, Ron.
And I'm curious to see how that pace is going to improve for the driver of the 240 car. Last time by, actually, this is the best laps of the race. Currently sat at a 1 minute 33.167. So let's see how his lap times improve. That gap between himself and Michelle Lynn increasing down to about 3.8 as Stevie Ray making that early call to come down pit lane. Classic Stevie move. He's now in the pits, 14 minutes on the board. Let's see if that strategy call works out. We do have to worry about those pit stops, and it looks like Stevie going to be the first one to try and I'm trying to think of the good metaphor to describe this. First one to grab the donut out of the box.
We do have a bit of an off track as well. Edward Buchanan found himself on not the black stuff, on the green stuff here, going through turn 2. What exactly happened? Did he just get loose in the gravel? Yes, he did. Now you got to watch out. Hang on to it, Edward. Edward does stay off the track there. Quite a few drivers got around him after that. Keeps it off track very, very nicely.
It looks like a very difficult rejoin, though, from Buchanan. Tough. And whenever I see something like that, the amount of times I've done a broadcast in which I feel like I'm in physical pain looking at a driver in the grass or the gravel, off the track, looking to try and rejoin, and they're waiting for what feels like 14,000 bajillion millennia just to be able to rejoin the racing surface. Small little case of that with Edward Buchanan. I keep nearly saying Edgar Buchanan. I really need to get that name pronunciation right, but still, that sort of stuff it's the worst part of being involved in a moment like that, as the pit stop's continuing here. Garrett's and Nizelli, though, losing it on pit entry. He's not going to have to pull off an Austin Powers move to get his way back down into the pits. But Nizelli, the one mistake he makes all day, it's on pit entry. He may get a penalty for that as well, Adam.
I think he did. He did run into the back of Garrett's there. See if we can get a view of this. So we're watching Garrett's right now. And I believe Garrett's just slowed up a little bit more than Nizelli was thinking, and bang.
Contact being made. Thankfully, these drivers were on pit lane when that happened, so virtually no harm, no foul, but still not going to be a good show from either of those drivers. Garrett and Nizelli have both exited out of pit lane. Nizelli now down in 24th, the last time by a 2:10. Considering he went down pit lane and also spun in the process. I was going to mention this earlier on here, Adam. One of the first times I did a broadcast of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors at Brands Hatch, it was the reigning Spec 1 champion who, for the second week in a row, is not joining us. I'm starting to wonder as to whether or not he will be joining us at all this season. That being the Brit of James Berry, picked up a pit lane speeding penalty. I believe it was either a speeding penalty or an unsafe pit entry penalty because of a pit lane infraction. That may be something we have to keep tabs on between now and the end of this race, Adam, the difficulty of that pit entry.
Yeah, it is pretty straightforward, it looks like, but you do carry a lot of speed going into that pit lane. So that's something that we will see in the pit lane times, see exactly how long people were in the pit lane, figure out if they picked up that penalty. But right now, everyone looks to be okay getting through it. Jason Green now in the pits with I must say, a beautiful paint job. But yes, Jason Green sitting in the pits right now. Not the greatest luck today. Normally he finds himself up there a little bit further, but he has another race to go after this, and he still has over half of this race to go as well, Ron.
Yeah, that beautiful paint scheme on Jason Green's race car, designed by Nevada's own Dame Thompson. A very good-looking race car as he exits out of pit lane in the midst of a true hornet's nest. That's another thing as well. When it comes to pit lane, that pit exit is terrifying. Adam, I think we were talking about this, and you and a lot of the other drivers running in that Formula V race yesterday were tuning into that broadcast. You probably heard the very strange noises and squeaks that came out of my mouth when there was 4 wide action hanging down the start-finish straightaway at Lime Rock Park just the other day here on SMB. Of course, all the action you can catch here exclusively on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But 4 wide action hang down the start-finish straightaway, along with the driver exiting the pits as they encroached upon him. That was sketchy, and I think Brands Hatch, another one of those racetracks with a very sketchy pit exit for both the drivers staying out and coming out.
It is. There are a few tracks like that. You've got Lime Rock, you've got obviously Brands Hatch, Phillip Island, another one where just the pit exits are not in the greatest spot they could be, as we do have a wreck here. Andrew Love has gone around. Soren Garrett has crashed as well.
Garrett's running into some difficulties. Let's take a look at a replay to see what happened to Love in the 544 car. This is heading his way off through turn number 5 right now, about to head his way into 6.
Oh, no.
Let's see if this is a simple spin. Going off the track now, was contact in front of him. Andrew Love trying to sweep around it. Hits the grass and augers straight into the side of Soren Garrett. Garrett's in that number 21 car. Going to be taken out of this race as a result of that. Garrett's not getting off to a great start to this season at all. He's shown a whole lot of pace, but yet again got struck by that falling anvil. And there you can see Love was certainly the falling anvil, just running straight to the side of him, really with nothing to do for either of those racers but to collide.
We've got a bigger issue here. Antonio Reese sitting in 6th position right now. Had a bit of a tangle, I believe, with Thortulu. Reese goes around. Thor almost gets into him, but able to dodge him. Oh, my goodness.
Some Matrix moves. That was some Matrix moves from Thortulu. That was insanity. Let's take a look at another angle of this and the evasive maneuvers from the driver of the number 27 car. Riding on board, heading his way off into turn number 2. Reese in front. Reese loses control, and then whoop, there you go. Beautiful from Tulo. It looked like he ripped the handbrake.
Yeah, that was very impressive. Back in the chat, Jim has decided to join us here. And Tam and Jim are talking right now. Tam says, yep, I give that a 9.8 for the flip from Jim Brewster.
We'll have to start awarding out some points to any of these drivers that have some aerial acrobatics. Couple that with like a golf clap or like something like that. That would be a very fun thing to add to these broadcasts. And another fun thing that I think we've just added to this broadcast is Mr. Joshua Wilkie, who's now joining us in the commentary booth, swapping out the steering wheel for a microphone. And after that crash, Josh, I feel like that steering wheel may be a little bit bent. So I'll ask you this one plain question here, and it's the first time I've ever said this on the air. What the hell happened out there?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mess in front of me there for sure. I think there's a really big one behind me there. I saw in my rearview mirror Jim Brewster just tumbling head over heels there. And in front of me, I'm not really sure what happened. It looked like, I know it was Chris Murakami for sure that kind of speared me, but I think I'm not sure who it was, just got into the back of him. It looked like he was trying to pass him in the grass for some reason on the first lap, and got into the back of him and just totally turned Chris in front of me. And I probably had enough time, honestly, to react to it and kind of get over to the right, but I stayed in it a bit too long, and he just clipped me and spun. And that was kind of it, really.
So the ARCA brakes seeming to make their appearance here in the Formula Fords. At that section, that's probably the worst section of racetrack from this whole season to have something like that happen, because that straightaway between 4 and 5 really feels like an alleyway instead of a racing circuit.
Yeah, it genuinely does. You're right. You kind of go down into this thing that starts to feel a little bit claustrophobic around you, and that's kind of exactly how it felt, honestly. Like, I just didn't have the room to get out of the way, and I kind of wanted to stay in it. Not very good around here. Didn't get a whole lot of practice. Just didn't really go for me today. It looks like a lot of other people kind of fell to the wayside as well. But yeah, pretty aggressive on the first lap from whoever was in front of me there to put it into the back of Chris and just kind of cause a big one there. So unfortunately, out of this one again, and we'll be looking forward to the next one.
Well, I would also like to apologize real quick if the falling anvil that whacked you on the head had my name on it. I apologize.
All of them have
for
your
that
name on it at this point, Ron.
Fair enough. But I apologize. Yeah, those damn anvils. That reminds me of the other graphic, the small little image that we had for the Formula V broadcast together yesterday, Josh. That was a very nice touch for that show. But speaking of another show, got the Spec Racer Fords later on at Rudskogen. May have to go back to live action here soon as Monty and Kabanka going side by side, with Monty just saying the 5th lap of the race last time by. So I'll ask you about the Spec Racer Fords at Rudskogen and the race that's going to be later on.
Yeah, Rudskogen, it's not one of my favorite tracks, but, I'm just looking forward to racing this afternoon, especially after kind of being out of this one. It's not always about the position I'm in, just more about getting behind the wheel, and it's a bummer to kind of get knocked out right away like that. So really looking forward to the Rudskogen race. Not an easy track, really, similar to this one where you really got to fight the track a bunch, and hopefully we won't have as much gravel as I just saw the boys in the front here go through into T2 or T3 there. It's getting a little bit ridiculous, but yeah, good luck to everybody else out there today, and looking forward to Rudskogen.
Thank you as well for joining us in the commentary booth. Josh, always nice to have a chat with you, and I'm definitely not saying that for the simple sake that you are my colleague, both as a co-commentator and a producer, and basically our boss here at SMP. But Josh, I'll let you get some practice for that Spec Racer Ford race, and fingers crossed that the industrial strength umbrellas that we have here in the commentary booth are going to shield you from those anvils.
Yeah, let's hope so. I definitely need one these days. My FF season's not off to a great start here, so I'll let you guys get back to it here. Looks like it's heating up at the front. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you very much, Josh. And that was Joshua Wilkie, who got caught up in that turn. Well, I guess it was, I wouldn't even say turn 1 or anything like that. Just the lap 1 shiitake mushroom showed that kicked this race off. Getting caught out by that, but thankfully he will be in the Spec Racer Ford race later on. But as he mentioned there, Adam, the field starting to battle, and that front pack fight certainly heating up as those pit stops near.
It is, yes. Joyner, Monty, and Kabanka have yet to clear each other. Every time I feel like Joyner is going to start pulling away from this battle that's happening between Kabanka and Monty. It's almost like they're leapfrogging each other to stay with Ian Joyner. I mean, this might be a plan. I doubt it, but they are staying with Joyner while battling. So this is very impressive stuff by these two drivers in the closest race I've seen in quite a while, with Ian Joyner not being able to pull away.
Oh, we got some more drivers coming down pit lane. Buchanan, Salmon, and Verone all coming in. All drivers whose last names sort of kind of rhyme. Not really. You can tell that I was a fantastic student
that was horrible.
In English class.
Yeah, that was... You almost had it until you said Verone.
Fair enough. Buchanan and Salmon.
There we go.
They rhyme. Their names rhyme. Dear God. Verone, on the other hand, though, it does not. But you can see those drivers exiting the pits right now. Verone still stopped in the 272 car. This looks like a rather lengthy stop for him, but I think he's now out and away. And here's Garrett in the number 21 car. Got involved in that incident with himself and Love. Love getting taken out of things here. And I believe... what was the pronunciation that we have of the driver of the 438 car running in 26th? All I know for sure, though, is that he had really bad connection issues to kick this race off, and he's now officially out of it.
Yeah, Lefebvre, I believe, is how you pronounce that. Michael Lefebvre and Josh, the fellow Canadian, might be able to help us out a little more with that pronunciation, but I believe it is Lefebvre. Or Lefebvre, something like that. I'm American, and my Americanness is showing right now, Ron. So we're going to move on here. Ian Joyner still in the lead of this race by a little bit more. Now this gap keeps, forming and then not forming, and Kabanka looks like he is going to overtake Monty here. And you can see they are working together here to stay with Ian Joyner.
I think at this point in time, that's all they need to do. Just give themselves the opportunity in the final 13 minutes of this race to have a chance, have a fighting chance to do well. Nazelli, though, we were mentioning that he's been a hard charger all throughout this race. Had an incident entering the pits not terribly long ago. He's now re-entered pit lane in that number 47 car. I'm curious whether or not this is a scheduled stop or if there's some other drama that's going on here. Is he still in that race car or not, Adam, is the real question. Has Nazelli had an off-track excursion as he just decided to call it a day from the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors at Brands Hatch? Or is he just coming down pit lane maybe to serve a penalty that he picked up as a result of that shenanigans that went on with himself and Garrett's?
Well, again, that's something that you have to deal with when you do start in the back of the field. Exactly like what just happened. You're probably going to catch some off tracks. You're probably going to have some incidents. Now, the incident going into pit lane was not good for Mazzelli, and it could just be. But with him still sitting in the pits, Ron, I think he's probably out of this race for good.
Yeah, that is going to be unfortunate, but one driver who, as it stands at the moment, is holding on to that hard charger award. Michelle Lynn up 20 spots. Well done, Michelle. Finds herself in 7th at the moment. However, she's now coming into the pits from the lead in Spec 2. Jacobson, he's running in 13th. Let's see how Jacobson and Michelle Lynn exit out. The 244 and 240, they're the ones that are giving us a two-horse race in the Spec 2 category. Lots of twos going on there. Here's Jacobson, going to have those blues and twos on that race car to try and blow Michelle Lynn's metaphorical doors off. Heading down the start-finish straightaway now, and Jacobson going to retake the lead in the Spec 2 category. Peter True also joining Lynn in the pits as well.
Spending a lot of time.
Shake out as another driver comes down pit lane. Michelle spending a whole lot of time in the pits. She didn't give her mechanics that mandatory Red Bull, Adam.
I don't think she did. Yeah, she is spending way too much time in the pits. Peter True is already in and out, so Peter True will jump Michelle Lynn in the pits. Michelle is still in the pits, Ron.
Oh, what in the world is going on here? The front three, that's what's going on here. They've come down into the pits. Joyner, Kabanka, and Monty. Let's see how they've managed their race thus far. Who's going to take the least amount of fuel? Who's going to hit their marks perfectly? Who is going to be the one taking the lead on pit exit? As much as there's plenty of good overtaking opportunities for these drivers to try and use, that track position is oh so important. Michelle Lynn finally exiting out a heartbreaking pit stop for the driver of the 244 car. And here's the battle at pit lane. Look at that, Kabanka jumping Monty. Ian Joyner still stopped in his box. What is going on with Ian Joyner in the number 8 car? He is still stopped in pit lane. Kabanka and Monty, they're in. Joyner, though, he's still stopped. Did he pick up a penalty? Did he get a pit lane speeding penalty trying to jump those two? He's now out. He's out of contention, too.
He is out of contention. This is a big shakeup here. Jorg Monty and Christian Kabanka now have 12 seconds to Thor Tulo. Looks like Kabanka and Tulo are going to be battling here. Joyner and my goodness, let me try this again. Joyner and Kramer are way back there. Tulo and Kramer, my God, I can't talk right now. Tulo is just out of nowhere. That's Wupker behind him, so I don't know what I'm talking about, Ron. I'm going to give it to you before I make more of a fool of myself.
Ik flag blurny quando flurn, side-by-side racing. I think that's Adam Bradshaw trying to get involved in a fight with himself, and that, I think, unless I'm very much mistaken, is a 309 of Jeff Wubker. There we go, side-by-side racing. Single files out through turn at number 5. But Kabanka and Monty, they're now in a battle of their own regard. Joyner, though, he's had a terrible run. I think he just towed back to pit lane. He has. Ian Joyner, his race has completely fallen apart. He was leading it. He was running comfortably. He just needed a good run through the pits. What happened here? He's just slow. Did he not put enough fuel in that car? Did he have some sort of incident? Did he pick up a penalty? What's going on with Ian Joyner? Either way, he's done. It's not going to be back-to-back victories for the driver of the number 8 car to kick this season off. Instead, it's going to be a victory and a heartbreak.
Yeah, that is huge. I mean, Ian Joyner, not only did he lose a lot of time in the pits, something happened in those pits that we don't know about. Maybe Ian will hop in the YouTube chat here eventually and let us know. But the thing is now, he has lost all of those points. So they do have drop weeks in this league, and I have a sneaky suspicion this is going to be one of them for Ian Joyner.
What absolutely is going to be. This has been a terrible turn of events for Ian Joyner. Thankfully, though, we do have some drop rounds to consider, but in a perfect world, you won't have to use any of them. But sadly, he will certainly have to use some of them because of the heartbreak that he has encountered here at Brands Hatch today. Michelle Lynn currently finds herself in 18th. I'm doing the math in my head right now. Finds herself 4th of the Spec 2 driver. Jeff Jacobson on track for another victory to kick this season off, as he have to go well farther back to find Peter True in 14th, the second of the Spec 2 racers. Trying to figure out where Peter True is on track at the moment. There Peter True is. That was terrible grammar. I apologize for that. There is Peter True. Second tries to charm in 14th. Jacobson, though, heading his way off into turn number 5 right now. So that's a pretty significant margin separating the two Spec 2 racers. And even in Spec 1 as well, in all the classes for that matter, rather spread out. Kabanka and Tulo separated by about 14 seconds for the Spec 1 win. Monty, you have to go back to Antonio Reese in 5th to find the next Masters driver. So at this point in time, it's looking fairly dead set in our respective classes.
Why would you say
but
that?
that battle for the reverse psychology, Adam.
I mean, listen, Ron, we know what we do when we say stuff like that. So now we're going to say Jeff Jacobson will probably crash. That's what I'm going to say. You know what? No, Jeff Jacobson will crash, because we can't say he's doing good, because then he will wreck. So Jeff Jacobson will crash before the end of this race and not win Spec 2.
I mean, in fairness, even from my time outside of working as a commentator, believe me when I say that I know how the reverse jinx can work. The amount of times in my lifetime that I've heard on the news, man, the Philadelphia Eagles are doing fantastic this season, and then they completely crap out come time for the winter. Believe me, I understand it. Right now, they're tied with the Cowboys, so that's gotta be pretty fun. Maybe a little bit of tension between me and Stevie. Is Stevie from Dallas?
Yeah, Stevie is not from Dallas. He's from Texas. Is huge. He's from somewhere in Texas, I'll tell you that. And he is not a Houston Texans fan. I was giving him crap the other day. Speaking of Stevie, is he still on track? There he is. So you can see that paint job there, right? So he has decided to run in the league that I own this season, as have you, Ron. But his paint job for the sprint car looked exactly like the Houston Texans, and he, when I mentioned that, did not say another word to me the whole night. So he is definitely a Dallas Cowboys fan, Ron.
I will just immediately make it quite clear before I lose my job that I know next to nothing about soccer. Not soccer. What am I saying? I know next to nothing about football. I got the two confused. I got football and football confused. Oh my God. I have another thing to apologize for now. Yee howdy. But no, I know next to nothing about football. So I am not going to start any football-related debates. That's a spin. Is that Antonio Reese? No, it's York Monty spinning from second in this race. Monty.
Michelle Lynn is going around too.
Oh, Michelle Lynn going off the track as well in the 244 car. What has gone on in the past couple of moments? Turn 5. Biting some of these drivers hard, and let's see what happened to Monty. Maybe trying to get that move done off into the corner. No, a little bit of contact being made with himself in the back of Kabanka, and it spins Monty around.
Yeah, we'll see it from Michelle Lynn's view here, exactly what happened to her. Looks like Monty was trying to get just around, and Michelle Lynn's trying to go wide to let them go, so she ends up going around too. Unbelievable turn of events here, Ron. Jorg Monty has lost so much time. Watch out for Thor Tulo at this point.
That is going to be such a heartbreaker for Monty. Found himself in such a good spot, but it's not going to materialize. We think anything can happen between now and the checkered flag. Thor Tulo finding himself in a podium spot for now, but again, I mean, with the amount of twists and turns we've had in this race, and not just the ones on track, there's no bounds as to what can happen between now and the end. But it's looking very spread out at the front, yes, for sure. Kabanka and Monty separated by 7 seconds. Tulo in third, about 8 seconds back of Monty. So it's looking good for the time being for those drivers running in the podium spots. And hopefully I didn't just jinx them.
Reese needs this position right now to try to stay as close to Monty as he can. Obviously, going into the second race, it's not that big of a deal, but Monty has won already in the first race, so he's leading in the Masters class. So Reese does need this position from Trenton Kramer to try to stay as close as he can to Monty, but Kramer putting up an absolute master class of a defense here, doing this with the Antonio Reese almost the whole race, Ron. But the one thing I want to talk about here is this guy. And if we have to go do another kamikaze interview, Jeff, I swear I'll do it. I will find you, and I'm going to interview you again. And Ron, actually, you're going to come with me this time, I think. But anyways, Jeff Jacobson is sitting here right now, top 10 and in Spec 2, doing an absolute wonderful job. And I can't say this enough as he gets, as he got a little sideways there, but doing a great job for these first two races.
Yeah, this has been a really good start to the season for Jeff Jacobson, and let's see if he will be able to get the second checkered flag of the season. Not a whole lot of time left on the clock. Only 2 minutes to be a bit more precise, so these drivers got to be taking the white flag next time around. Antonio Reese now battling hard with Kramer. That gap has diminished between those two. Half a second, about a half a second, teetering around that barrier for sure for those drivers running in 4th and 5th respectively. Michael McConnell, he may get involved in this fight. If these two go off the track in a cloud of dust and steam, McConnell would be the one inheriting a 5th or 4th place finish, which he certainly wouldn't mind one bit in the number 62 car.
Yeah, McConnell is a driver that is normally involved in battles. We talk about it quite a bit, but McConnell has kind of been sitting by himself quiet today, which is probably a good thing for McConnell because he always finds himself involved in something, and it's not over yet. I mean, Reese and Kramer are still absolutely battling right now. Reese will not let that, I would say rear wing, but they don't have any wings, will not let that rear axle of Trenton Kramer out of his sights.
Yeah, certainly keeping a very strong view on the rear. I'm trying to think of what the correct technical term would be. Certainly keeping a close eye on the rear control arms of Trenton Kramer's race car at the moment. Very close to making contact. Heading through turn number 9. The white flag is in the air. Only one more lap of racing action. Let's see how it's going to shake out with these two. Kramer and Reese covered by nothing. About 0.2 of a second hang their way off through turn number 1 for the final time in this race. Kabanka, he's entirely checked out 7 seconds in front of Monty, who's the leader still in the Masters category, but the second driver in Masters is Antonio Reese. He had a spin earlier on, nearly came to blows with himself and Thortulo, but has actually come up solidly okay for Antonio Reese. Let's see if he can break his way up into the top 4, or if Trent Kramer will be able to put on a defensive masterclass in that number 20 car to hold on to that spot. But Reese running in 5th for now, trailing Kramer, heading out of turn number 4 onto this long straightaway, the longest straightaway on this track by far. Will Reese get the job done, or will he have to settle for 5th? Heading off into turn number 5 for the last time. It looks like Reese just not close enough. I think the only opportunity he really has is going to be into turn number 8, but a driver's about to head their way off into turn number 9 for the final time. On track for a victory is a driver of the number 9 car, Christian Kabanka, who took pretty much the entirety of last season off, going to kick 2025 Season 1 in style and take the checkered flag to win the second race of the season. Kabanka, your winner here at Brands Hatch, but back to the fight with Kramer and Reese, unless Reese goes for the dive in the final corner, which he certainly considered there, Adam. Ooh. Not close enough, but he's got to focus on that run. Will it be a photo finish between those two? I don't think it will be. Kramer going to finish in 4th, Reese finishing about a 10th and a half behind in 5th. And here's a fight maybe developing here between Stevie Ray and Jeff Jacobson. Jacobson on track for a Spec 2 win. Sideways, slideways coming out of turn number 9 for the final time. Stevie Ray right in tow. We may have a photo finish developing between these two racers, but they're not side by side to the line. And Jacobson grabs that Spec 2 win and rounds out your overall top 10. Another pretty textbook race from the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors.
It was. That was more textbook than what we think, and we better hold on here, Ron. Just, we're going to hang out for just a second.
This is never a good sign. Jason Green stopped Lots of other drivers stopped with
Oh,
him.
oh, oh,
Oh,
oh,
oh,
oh.
no, oh no,
Oh.
oh dear,
Oops.
oh, great heavens! That I'm not sure who that was. I think that may have been Antonio, or actually no, I think that may have been Jeff Wubker. Just came in barreling, going about 14 times the speed of sound. In fairness, though, that entire corner is more gravel than it is asphalt, so I can't necessarily blame him if he just skidded off. Looking at this aerial shot, it looks like a gradient from asphalt to gravel. It doesn't even look like there's a hard boundary between the two of them. But Green and a lot of other drivers stopped around turn 2. The outside of turn 3 is usually the wreck points, but I think they're actually deciding to do it in turn 2 today.
What's happening?
Oh, Green. Okay. Oh, he's pulling off a J turn, kind of. It looked like the strangest
Is he going
J in
backward?
the world.
Is he going to try to do this backward?
Oh!
Oh,
no.
no.
For the kill. Oh, this is... Oh, okay, so this is...
Okay, he's still going backwards?
Oh! I
What
think
is
I may have
Jason
broken off
doing
one of
at
the
this
wheels
point?
for Green. Oh, and who was that backing it into the barrier coming out of turn number 2? This is a whole lot of
There
strange
goes
stuff
Kevin
going on.
Adrian.
There's Kevin Adrian barreling into the wall. Is he going to get hit again? Chances are...
There it is.
Yeah. Upside down. Some drivers flipping already. Who's that upside down?
That's
Michael McConnell.
Yep.
Oh, it looks like a little bit of bumping going on with Adrian and Michelle Lynn. Peter Shrew still running around the racetrack and wants nothing to do with this madness. And McConnell getting just completely T-boned.
Whoa!
And who's that? Oh, what in the world did we just see? Who was that flipping wildly into the runoff area of turn 3?
That is a great question. I don't know who exactly that was. We have people upside down, backwards, forwards. I think Fernando Afonso is involved in that as well. But anyways, let's see if we can get some results for you this week, huh? You think they're going to work for us, Ron?
Possibly.
Look at that.
Yes! There we go. Beautiful stuff. The best of the best here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And if you want to take a look at the website, www.slowmotionbroadcasting.com, you know the drill. Christian Kabanka going to be winning this race. Jorg Mani going to finish right behind in second, taking the Masters win in the process. Thortula going to round out your podium in third. Trent Kramer going to finish in fourth. Antonio Reese in fifth. Michael McConnell finishes in sixth. Jason Green in seventh. Esteban Laurencio, who I don't think we mentioned at all throughout that race, he ends up in a pretty solid eighth. Kevin Adrian finishes right behind in ninth, and Jeff Jacobson going to round out your top 10, grabbing the Spec 2 victory in the process. Then series admin Stevie Ray finishing in 11th, Edward Buchanan finishing in 12th, Chris Murakami in 13th, Daniel Salmon in 14th, and Peter True rounding out your top 15.
In 16th place, we've got Boris Essman with Arthur Lorero in 17th. Daniel Verone rounding out your top 18. And to take you through the rest of the grid is going to be Michelle Lynn, Wupker, Bradshaw, Fernando Afonso, Soren Gerrits, Ian Joyner, and Mauricio Nazelli after that interesting pit entry to round out the top 25. Russell Telker, Andrew Love, Michael Lefebvre, Jim Brewster, Joshua Wilkie, and Chris Montgomery going to round out your 31-car grid for this afternoon. And Ron, we have quite a few drivers sitting in the waiting room, so you tell me which one you want.
I think I'm going to take dibs on Christian Kabanka and drag him in for a quick little interview. The winner from this race here at Brands Hatch. Christian, it's been a while since we had a chat after one of these broadcasts, but what a way to bring it back into the commentary booth. Winning this race here at Brands Hatch. Talk us through that battle that you found yourself in the midst of all throughout the race.
Yeah, turn 2 was a death trap because of all the gravel that was laid out on the track from previous sessions. To be honest, I didn't really know what my strategy would be as I was racing, because in the first few laps I was kind of attacking Ian and Mani, and then eventually everyone had similar pace, and Ian may be slightly quicker, but we could still keep up in the draft. So it was a question of fuel saving and making sure that we didn't make any mistakes, and it was very difficult to do. And yeah, I was surprised coming out of the pits. I was ahead, and it was a shame that what happened to Mani and Ian there, but I'm just very happy to be able to win the race and to have someone else being able to win one of these races, because Ian is very fast.
And not entirely sure what happened to Ian Joyner, because after that round of pit stops, his race fell apart practically instantly. But I want to ask you about that run through pit lane and that very close call that you found yourself involved in with yourself and Mani. That looked very sketchy on pit exit with that round of pit stops. I want to ask you about your perspective and all of that.
Yeah, I was able to get released from my pits first, and I had a good run. And the pit lane exit is so narrow, and it was a kind of a miracle that me and Mani didn't actually end up tangling together. It was Mani did feel some contact in his end, and I did apologize to him while we were racing because we're on the same Discord together. But yeah, everything was good, and it was just lucky that I had someone like Mani that knows how to race, and that's why we weren't able to have a bigger accident there.
Yeah, that could have ended in absolute tears, but you two managed to keep it together. And just from my past experience, I may have to have you fact check me on this. I don't believe that is anywhere far from the first time that you and Mani have battled in a race. So certainly very familiar with each other out there on the racetrack and giving us another fantastic fight to kick off what has been a very good start to this season. Now we're going to be staying in the UK and heading to Snetterton to kick off 2025 for the third race of this season. So what are your thoughts heading into that race in 1 week's time?
Snetterton is a fun track. I don't know which layout of Snetterton we're using, but as long as if I can keep up with the draft here against Ian and some of the fast guys, then I may have a chance. But you never know. And since it's UK weather, so it could be raining, so it's gonna be a lottery for sure.
I will say it is the 200 layout of Snetterton, which I believe is the section that cuts out the infield and just has the kind of like outer loop. So that's probably going to crank up that slipstream discussion even more for that race. The 200 one, yeah, definitely. It's going to be whoever's going to win has to, I think, be second on the last lap. So who knows who that driver will be next week. So hopefully it'll be me and I can get a good run and win, hopefully. That'd be a pretty awesome way to kick this season off, and a championship battle with yourself and Ian Joyner would be pretty cool from our perspective on these broadcasts. But Christian, well done on grabbing the victory here at Brands Hatch today. And before we let you go and celebrate, is there anyone you want to give thanks to or shout out?
Thanks. I'll give a shout out to Mani because for not us having a bigger accident, because it was definitely on him and he knew how to race. So shout out to Mani, and glad he got second place.
Shout out to you guys as well for putting on a fantastic fight that we had the strong privilege of keeping our eyes on all throughout this race. But Christian, well done on scoring the victory here today, and excited to see you back out on the racetrack for the rest of the season. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And that right there was Christian Kabanka, your winner of this race here at Brands Hatch. And for the second week in a row, Adam is with Jeff Jacobson, this time without me playing on the harmonica.
Yes, I am, because I didn't have to go and bonsai Jeff Jacobson in the Spec Racer 4 chat. Jeff, welcome in. You found your way over to Slow Motion Broadcasting. You didn't get lost.
I figured I wouldn't make you chase me down this week.
Well, thank you for that, Jeff, and congratulations. Not only was it first in Spec 2, but it was a top 10 as well. So the first two races, Jeff, you have done an absolutely amazing job keeping that car, well, as I say that on the track, we just watch you take it off track. But, with that being said, Jeff, have you done any practice in these Formula Fords in the off season, or is it clicking a little more now, or have you always been this quick, but you've had some Spec 2 drivers move up to Spec 1?
I think I'm just getting lucky, because I definitely haven't been practicing, and I'm just getting lucky with where I'm at when there's a wreck, and just doing a decent job of keeping the car clean. Apparently, staying out of trouble.
So you haven't been practicing iRacing, Jeff, so it's got to be satisfactory, right? I'm kidding,
Yes.
by the way.
Well,
I'm
that's
kidding.
satisfactory.
I'm kidding. But anyways, you had a pretty clean race here. Were you ever worried about Michelle Lynn starting to catch up to you? You had some lap traffic to deal with at the beginning, and how we talked about it during the broadcast. How angering is it to have lap traffic that you think is holding you up, but they're also battling for position as well? I know you've been in that position.
Yes.
What do you do there? Do you just stay? You just had to stay patient.
I wasn't. I know Adam. I wasn't too worried about Adam. I don't remember the other guy. He made me a little nervous, but honestly, like Adam and the other guy really wasn't holding me up. So I was content with just kind of cruising, as long as they didn't like have it off and crash in front of me or something. But yeah.
Well, you did good. You got a top 10. You've extended your Spec 2 lead even more at this point, Jeff. So congratulations, man. We're going to be at Rudskogen here in about a little less than an hour at this point. Are you ready for those Spec Racer Fords, my man?
I am not a fan of Skokin, so
I don't think
we'll do the
anybody
best
is,
we
Jeff.
can.
Yeah. I don't think there are very, very many people on the iRacing service that are fans of Rudskogen, and if they are, you need to go get your brain checked. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
But Jeff, congratulations again on your top 10. Anybody you want to thank or shout out before we let you go?
Just all you guys for broadcasting and everyone in the league for making this so much fun each week.
Well, Jeff, I hope to be talking to you again in here a little over an hour. Let's say that. So good luck at Rudskogen, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Hopefully. Later, guys.
Yeah, Jeff. That was Jeff Jacobson there, winner of the Spec 2 class. And I believe we've got one more here, Ron. And I've had the pleasure of talking with this guy on and off the stream. I've had the pleasure of racing with him yesterday. Ron, you get the pleasure of talking with him today.
Yeah, Urugmani probably mourning that fact on account of the fact he probably won't be able to get a word in edgewise for the next few moments. But Urugmani now joining us in the commentary booth. And now, Jorg, that looked like a pretty intense race battling with those two up at the north end of the field. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it was. Hold on, I need to take a pill for my heart attack issues at the moment. But no, it was bloody intense, really bloody intense. I'm not saying the F word now. But it was really intense, and I'm actually so glad that I ended up with P2, and start was quite decent because I started in pole, and I could have a good launch of it, but I knew that Ian and Christian gonna stay on my tail very easily because of the draft and anything, but I just thought to myself, okay, there's still the gravel in turn 2. I have to be bloody careful with that, not to overbrake it, spinning in lap 1, and I did that, and after that it was one quali lap after the other one from every one of us, and that was fantastic racing. With a little bit sad end on the last lap actually, or second last lap I think. And but nobody to blame on that one, because I should be aware that when you pass a lapped car, that when you take the inside you have to lift even more. I forgot that point, and I was just glad that I did not smack out Christian in front of me. So it was absolutely a blast to drive with Christian and Ian, of course.
Yeah, that battle, just from our perspective in the commentary booth, looked absolutely fantastic. And now I asked Christian about his side of all of this. I want to ask your side as well. That pit exit and how narrowly close it was to absolute disaster with you and Kabanka. I want to ask you about your perspective and all that, because just from our perspective in the commentary booth, it was a little bit scary.
I guess you ask me now, but my heart was plumping in my pants actually, and I saw Christian's hair on his back, so yeah, it was.
I'm sorry. Your heart was what?
Falling into my pants.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I heard that right.
Yes, No, it was really, really, really. It was like my heartbeat went up about 200 points in 10 seconds, and I thought, oh shit! But lucky-wise, the cars are still invisible at that point. But shortly after, they're gonna be solid, and after that would be a dang ding doing, I think.
I'm not even sure what to say at this point in time, so I will I will thank you, Urugmani, for maybe
I
giving
achieved
some
my
phrases
target.
I'll be able to,
I achieved my target to quiet a broadcaster.
Yeah, I will thank you for giving me some phrases that I may have to use on broadcast in the not too distant future. May have to pick one of those to say during the spec race for forward race later on today. I'll ask you about that. Rudskogen. Oh boy, that's gonna be a very fun one.
Yes, I actually like the track, but it's like 50% of a chance to survive there. But I'm trying my best because I got the feeling back at Spec Ford as well, so I'm really doing my best.
Well, good luck to you, and I will certainly be giving you a lot of good luck after that absolutely hilarious interview that you just gave us. But before we let you go, Jürgen, celebrate the Masters win here for the Formula 4. It's your second on the season as well. Is there anyone you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Yeah, to all the sponsors that always make it possible that we can even broadcast our races. To all drivers, they're fantastic guys. And even we had a new one, Mr. Setup in person, like Edward. He is a pretty damn quick guy as well. In quali he was, in the race I think he was having some certain issue. But anyway, and of course I'm calling out Stevie, I almost can't talk anymore, and to anybody else.
Trust me, I've been sounding I've been sounding like a rabid chihuahua throughout most of this broadcast, so you're going to feel bad about yourself at all. But well done on the Masters win, and thank you very much for giving us possibly one of the most entertaining interviews I've ever had in my entire iRacing broadcasting career. Thank you, Jorg.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good night, guys.
Bye, Jorg. Oh, man. Ding, dang, doing, Ron. Ding, dang, doing.
Hi, Adam.
Did that?
Uh-oh.
I don't think that you meant to transfer
I
yourself.
did not. I definitely transferred the wrong person, and they just heard me all on broadcast, so we're going to say that again. Oh, no. Ding, dang, doing, Ron.
Boy.
Ding, dang, doing.
I was curious because I just heard you disappear and go up into the interview waiting area with Ian Joyner and Trent Kramer who are up there. That may have just given them a small little jump scare.
Trenton goes, hi, Adam. I was like, you don't sound like Ron.
Yeah, last time I was in the commentary booth by myself, I had to break out the harmonica, so I was like eyeballing it next to my desk. I was like, am I gonna have to break it out again? Am I not? But holy cow, that interview with Jörg Monty, that was, for lack of a better term and some broadcasters' terminology, that was clucking fantastic.
It really was, and now I don't know what to respond to that, Ron. So why don't you give us some upcoming streams and get us out of here, huh?
Yeah, I think we should probably move on to the Spec Racer Fords. Maybe air out the commentary booth because I'm not sure what like hallucinogenics have been pumped into here throughout this show for some of the odd things to come out during it. But coming up later on today, we got the Spec Racer Fords running at Rudskogen. That's going to be a really fun race. I will be on that broadcast yet again as our old pal Randall McGrew is suffering from a bad bout of food poisoning. We would like to wish Randall well.
Now,
and then
hang on. Before you move on to the next one, there is another broadcast between the Spec Racer Fords and Saturday that I have failed to put into this upcoming broadcast, but you will see it on the SRF broadcast. It is going to be a new league coming to slow motion broadcasting. It is going to be SRG, Sim Racers Group. They're going to be running F4s. Their intermediate class, and they're going to be at Mugello on the 1st. That broadcast goes live at 10 p.m. Eastern Time.
Holy cow,
on Wednesday.
Yeah. That'll be on Wednesday, January 1st to kick this season off. I only just realized that broadcast is going live at 10, which is really saying something because I'm meant to be on the show for that one. Mm-hmm. Oh, boy, I may have to chug some Red Bull to stay up for that long. I mean, you usually think 20-year-old guy, yeah, I can stay up well past that, but I have the personality of a 9,000-year-old man, so... But that will be the fantastic way to kick off the year of 2025. And the Weekend Warriors World will be kicking off 2025 with the Formula Vs running at New Hampshire, the Formula Fords running at Snetterton in 1 week's time, and the Spec Racer Fords going to be making an appearance at Spa. That's going to be a Draft Fest race if ever I saw one, but the action here at SMB really never stops. Gives you more of a reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. The action, which was definitely, I wouldn't say tempered. it was still pretty prevalent in this race. But Adam, for the second time in a row, a rather standard Formula Ford Weekend Warriors affair with some great racing, some incidents here and there, but also that really important strategy.
I wouldn't call it standard. There was quite a bit of attrition that went on out there, Ron, and a lot of these drivers, the gravel trap of turn 2, I don't even know why they call it a turn anymore. Really, what they need to do is call this a rallycross track at this point, because that is just unbelievable amount of gravel going through turn 2. Most drivers navigated well, caught out quite a few drivers though as well, Ian Joyner being one of them who lost 22 positions. But yes, it was, I would say, standard in a way, but not really, because Ian Joyner didn't win the race, Ron.
Yeah, a little bit surprising. I mean, he certainly found himself in a good spot, but things just did not materialize. If anything, they just about fell apart entirely come time for the end of this race. But for sure, Ian Joyner going to be trying to grab another victory as this season continues. A season which has been brilliant thus far, and hey, we're only a sixth of a way through it. But as for this broadcast for round number 2, I think that'll just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, and Adam Thompson working the comms and the cams with me on today's broadcast, I say thank you all so very much for watching. Have a great rest of your whatever it is hour, and stay tuned for the Spec Race Forwards later on today. Bye.